It's almost 6. Fuck!
Because we're so used to eating at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Let's get the show on the road. Let's go. Welcome to Movie Painter Pleasure Podcast, the show that wants to scare you out of your wits. Ha ha ha. Okay, this is our Halloween episode. I don't know. You come up with the opening. Okay, this is our Halloween episode for 2022, and we're releasing this in early October, so you have plenty of time to check out these movies. So last year we did a Halloween episode, and we had recommendations for scary movies, and we started the list over again as we went through the year and made a list of 19 scary movies that we enjoy. Now, I wanted a nice round 20, but AJ reminded me that 19 is a special number. And why is that?
Stephen King cultists will know.
They'll know. And speaking of that, I don't think we have any Stephen King movies on here. I like to do theme outfits for our videos. So I've got these little ghost earrings that I've had since I was a kid. I've got 3 skull necklaces on. I am not a goth girl, but I love skulls. And I have a skull bracelet on. So, if you're watching the video, enjoy my skull jewelry.
I have multicolored ravens.
Yes, and we both have Dark Tower Stephen King tattoo, so I guess that counts. All right, let's get started with the list. Number 1 is It Follows. About the scariest STD you can get. Actually, pregnancy is the scariest STD you can get, but...
It's really creative, though.
It was a really creative movie, and I think it didn't do too well, or maybe it was undervalued because it was like, it's teenagers.
It was pretty low budget, so...
Yeah, but it's good. It's like a chill summer movie, but it's horror, and there are only a few jump scares, but they really get you. And it's that long, lingering dread that I think gives the movie that scary quality.
It's kind of like if a guinea pig was going to keep chasing you, so you ran away, but you knew you had to stop eventually, and eventually it would catch up.
Eventually.
It's like that, which sounds not scary at all, but...
So if you don't know what it is, it's been out for a couple of years, but if you don't know what it is, there's a curse. So you have sex with a person, and they pass the curse along to you, and the curse is that this creature follows you, and it looks like a human. It could look like any type of any shape, color, gender, whatever. Just it's a human being that follows you.
And it changes every time.
Yes, it changes too. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be black at one point, they could be white, but they follow you and they kill you unless you have sex with another person and you pass the curse along to them. Now the good thing is this entity moves really slowly. It just walks, shows up from far away, you can hide from it. But
it's like,
it does catch up eventually. And then if that person kills the person you had sex with, the curse goes back to you.
It's like Jason had a baby with Samara.
From The Ring?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a ring curse type of thing. Like, you get engaged with it in that way, and it comes and it gets you. So, I enjoyed it. Number 2 is La Llorona, which I thought that one looked really scary.
The best part was Tuco.
Yes. There's a guy, he's a brujo. And it's Tuco from Breaking Bad, and he's very understated, and he talks like this. Like, at one point, he, like, cracks some eggs and does some magic shit, and he goes, ta-da.
It's like if Tuco lived a very different life that did not include meth.
Yes, it just included magic and very sad, angry ghosts.
And very angry mothers with bats, which I appreciated.
Yeah, in a lot of horror movies, people just scream and run away, and you kind of wonder, well, what would I do if I saw a ghost? And the mom in the movie sees La Llorona, the ghost, and gets a baseball bat, and she's about to swing at this bitch.
I just have to tell the ghost to sit down. We're going to have a nice long chat.
Acknowledge the ghost.
What's going on in their life that they got to bring it on to me. It's all this, pushing all their inner demons out towards other people. Fuckers.
First, my thing would be like, excuse me, ghost, I have soiled myself in your presence because I was so scared. Let me go change, and then cut to later, and then we're having a conversation because I don't really want to see a ghost. Speaking of that, number 3, Candyman 2021 from Jordan Peele. It was incredible. It was dark and sad, and it makes you think about things at the end.
Just skip the other 2 sequels to Candyman. Just
watch the
go
original
from the original
Candyman
to this one.
to this one, and it makes a very good social point about what's going on right now. And so and we get a little cameo from Tony Todd at the end, but it was very creative. It's basically the same stories. There's a curse, you say his name 5 times, there are killings, but it's creative the way they bring it back. I'm not going to give away who the main character is, but the main character has a tie to the first Candyman movie.
It's sort of
that's all I'm going to say.
A reboot quill, if you will.
Yes, a reboot quill.
Although I don't think they'll be doing a sequel to this one. So
I mean,
they could.
You don't need to. It's perfect the way it is.
Especially after seeing the sequels to the other one.
Yeah, this was amazing. So number 4 is Winchester, and I remember watching that. I think I had just had my second knee surgery, so I was laying on the couch with an ice pack on my leg. And we had gotten these overpriced prime rib fajitas from this hippie place down the street.
Oh, you God,
I was not impressed. So that was our afternoon. And we watched Winchester, which stars Helen Mirren, she's an American in this one, so her accent's pretty good. And then I can't remember his name, but he's the main guy who's in The New Pet Cemetery.
Oh.
He was also in The Devil all the time.
Yeah. He suddenly had a career, and then... Maybe he took some time off. I haven't seen him since.
Maybe, but it's a good movie. It's a period piece. It takes place in the early 1900s, and the main guy is this doctor who ends up at Mrs. Winchester's house. She's the heiress to the Winchester rifle fortune, and there is a curse, and she's basically haunted by people who have died.
She's building rooms for the sake of the people that the Winchester has killed.
It's almost recreating the place of their death.
If you ever watched Rose Red, then
Stephen King,
then it's similar. Like, you never know how big is it gonna get.
That's what she said.
The house. So yeah, that's the only thing I'll explain about it. And the technical villain spirit was sort of interesting. There was a little bit of convolution, but it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it was good. It was a different kind of horror movie, and it was a nice little period piece. Number 5 is The Boy. Or is it called Brahms the Boy?
It's The Boy.
It's The
The
Boy.
sequel is Brahms.
Okay, so number 1 is the Boy, and it's this old house in England, and these 2 older adults are looking for someone to babysit their son. So this young American girl takes the job, and it turns out their son is a puppet.
Yeah.
Not in a Pinocchio kind of way, like he's sentient. It's just this creepy doll.
Like Slappy from R.L. Stein's The Goosebumps series.
Or the Vincents from Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
As creepy. So again, I don't want to give too much away because the reveal is really good at the end. He figured it out and he was screaming it at the TV, but the parents are going away and they want her to put out clothes for him, to put out food for him as if he were going to eat it, to talk to him, to play music to him as if he were a real boy. So you think, well, something fucked up happened in their past. So it's fun to uncover what the reveal is.
Really good reveal.
It's a really good reveal. Number 6 is Insidious, which is part of a big movie franchise, which I think... I always get it mixed up with the Conjuring universe.
Yeah,
Annabelle, is Annabelle part of the Conjuring universe?
Yes, I think
Didn't we watch a really crappy Annabelle movie?
I think we did? Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked. But that's not part of the Insidious universe. I think Insidious is... but the Ouija movies are part of the Insidious universe.
Yeah, they're very convoluted.
The old lady,
There's so much.
Okay, anyway, Insidious is pretty good. It's kind of a demon possession story. Patrick Wilson is in both the Insidious and Conjuring franchises. So
all of the horror things.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
In the Tallgrass, he's in there too.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, he's...
Not in the Tallgrass. Yeah, is it in the Tallgrass?
Yes, he is in that. He is horror...
He's in everything.
He is horror's Will Arnett.
He's horror's Ned Flanders.
Yeah. So it's confusing. But Insidious is good, and I liked all the sequels. It's been a while since I've seen them, but there's one jump scare where like a demon face shows up in the kitchen, and it scares the shit out of you. The jump scares are really good. There was one we were watching.
Actually, in both of those series, I think they're both James Wan directed.
Okay.
So
you remember? I won't say it again. I'm trying not to give too much away, but it was like a weekend. I was sitting there with a little glass of whiskey, and a character is at the police station, and this ghost pops up, and I was just like, oh shit, I almost dropped my shot glass.
it's got it's not
it was scary.
It doesn't give you bad like fake jump scares. It's
no.
Everything's good.
And there's sometimes you know it's coming and you know it's coming and you know it's coming and then it happens, you're like, ah!
The only bad thing is that there's like 3 Insidious and there's 3 Conjuring, there's 3 whatever, and there's Ouija and branching off. It all sort of melts together a little bit. You know, just a little bit. Like, kind of like Paranormal Activity. Like,
yeah.
You enjoy all of them, but they sort of blend together and you start to forget what the storyline is.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Insidious is a lot of fun.
Number 7 is 1BR. I think that one might still be on Netflix. It started out quiet, but it's weird. It's this girl who wants to rent an apartment in Los Angeles, I think.
Yeah.
And she finds what seems to be a very welcoming community that's very inclusive.
Scientology, like, not like directly based on them. It feels like maybe they do these things.
Maybe. They just take everybody's money.
Yeah, well.
Oh, by the way, I'm so excited. Little side note. Mike Rinder's memoir, A Billion Years, just showed up on my Kindle today. I can't wait. I should have gotten the audiobook because I love his accent. But I am so excited. Mike Rinder is an ex-Scientologist.
Anyway, back to 1BR.
1BR. So it's got some cult stuff in it, which is always fun. It's got some scary, gory horror stuff in it if you're into that type of thing, which I'm not so much, but it's fucked up.
And the ending is just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's one of those things where
you're drained.
I kind of like that sense of dread where you look around like, oh god, it's not just this one thing, it's everything, and we're all fucked. And that's how the end of that made me feel.
Yeah, okay. It could have been really bad. Like, it's not great, but it's very fun. It could have been awful.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's kind of dumb.
It is.
It's kind of dumb.
Because you start thinking, you're like, this wouldn't really
If you want to be an
stupid.
asshole, you could start being like, well, why not me? Fucking, but what about her work job? Yeah. Whatever. You can come up with a bunch of things to be like, this doesn't make total sense. But if you just let it go...
Suspend your disbelief.
It's fun to get through. And the ending is going to make you go like, motherfucker. So
number 8 is one AJ had introduced me to years ago, and you're gonna love it. Frailty.
Yes.
So I'll let you talk about it, but first I want to give shout outs to the people who were in it. Bill Paxton, the late Bill Paxton, is from Fort Worth, Texas, which is where we live. Matthew McConaughey is from Longview, Texas, and Powers Booth, who plays the FBI agent, who is also departed, unfortunately, is from Snyder, Texas, which is where I grew up. So we've got 3 Texans. We don't have anybody doing fake, shitty foghorn leghorn accents. It's just people with their natural drawl.
Yeah.
So talk about this movie.
I
love
saw
this movie.
when I was a teenager, and I never forgot it. I always remembered it, and it's got some like serious shit that could have gone over my head. Even though I was a teenager, I was probably like 13. So it's got some serious like fuckery going on with your mind as you're supposed to follow the character he's almost, I don't want to call him an unreliable narrator, but you only see it from his point of view. And there's multiple people involved, so you never know like what's really going to happen until the end. And it had a really interesting idea. Just a dad, for some reason one day, probably just a heat stroke, but who knows, had a vision of Michael, the angel, coming down from heaven and telling him, you have to kill demons now. It's like Supernatural if it was very questionable if any of it was real. It's, yeah. That's how I would explain it. And I feel, I'm filled with hatred that there not more people know about it. Because
I know. More people need to know about this movie.
I've asked so many people, have you ever seen Frailty? You remember the... Nobody ever remembers it. Nobody's ever seen it.
No, and one time, my dad likes to watch movies, but he's not a horror type of person. But I put it on, and he was on the edge of his seat the whole time. And I think I was that way, too. The first time I watched, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Because you can imagine Bill Paxton, the dad, thinks he has to kill demons, and there aren't really demons around, just people. So, and he pulls his sons into it, and they're just little boys.
And their reactions make sense. Like, the youngest boy is just, like, all on board. Like, yeah, Dad's like a superhero, and fallen dad. And the older boy is like, I'm pretty sure we're fucking murdering people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the small town thing where, he goes to the cop, and is the cop gonna listen to him, or is he gonna be like, you get your boy in line, that type of shit. So, just watch it. It's fucking awesome.
Yes, watch Frailty. Okay, number 9 is one we've only watched once. I don't know if you can even find it on the dumpster fire of Amazon Prime anymore, and it is The Elevator to Salvation.
Oh God,
it is a very low budget Christian horror movie. We love Christian movies as a guilty pleasure, sometimes as a hate watch. But if you watch our episode on The Fighting Preacher, that was actually a really good movie, even though I completely disagree with the Mormons taking over all of that land.
And we still haven't talked about Where Hope Grows, which is really good.
Yeah, that's actually a really good movie.
But anyway, back to this pile of trash.
But usually we love to hate watch Christian movies because they're so bad. They're so bad. They're so judgmental. They're so proselytizing.
And they're not well made. They're just flat out not well made. They're all the money in the world that's gone to religion, and they can't get a few bucks together to make a decent movie.
This one is not well made in a good way. It's terrible. So there's this guy who works in like an office building, and another guy gets in an elevator, and it's kind of this dark night of the soul. Are they talking to God, or are they talking to the devil? And who's real and who's dead? And there are messages coming from people in heaven, and it's all... I kind of like plays and movies where it's like a small cast in one location. It's like a one-man show.
God is possibly the bad guy in this movie.
Because God's never done anything harmful to humans before.
They probably didn't mean it to be, but he's legitimately probably the bad guy.
Because he's fucking with them the whole time?
Just the entire time I was like, okay, so God's just the evil person here. Like, all these things he's involved in and the way he's involved in. I'm sure that's not what the story was meant to tell me, but that's what I got.
God has let a lot of things
slide. There was that one really fun scene with, like, really bad CGI of hell.
Oh,
or whatever.
Yeah, so if you can find The Elevator to Salvation, enjoy it. So if you want to spend the $2 to rent it on Amazon, go right ahead. Number 10 is an anime, and that is Perfect Blue. And AJ, you know a lot more about this movie, so you explain it.
Okay, if you've ever seen Black Swan, which a lot of people love, it's basically based on Perfect Blue. But Perfect Blue is way better.
So, I really like Black Swan,
I don't care. It's better. All the stuff from Black Swan where you're sort of not sure what's in her head and what isn't, turn that way up. Like, it's so much more confusing. Even after I've seen it at least twice, maybe 3 different times. And the last time we watched it, I still wasn't sure where it was going at the end. Like, it's that trippy. Like, you don't know when she's asleep, when she's awake, when her dreams are about her life, when her life is, like, going according to plan, or if she's hallucinating while she's awake. It's all over the place with that, but, like, structured. It's good. Satoshi Kon was amazing. It sucks that he died. And then there's a stalker murder story involved also. And it's, like, it didn't have to be, I guess, as violent as it was necessarily, but anime's, like, really good at that sometimes. Like, there's the mindfuckery part, which is really good, and it could have been just that, but then there's also, like, the legitimate threat of death. So, it's the shit, man.
Yeah, it's good, and it's been long enough. I've only seen it once that I could probably watch it again and be surprised because I've forgotten a lot of what happens. I kind of know who the villain is, but I don't remember how everything happens.
Yeah, it's not like it's not memorable. It's just like it really is perfect for taking your brain through a trip. Like you just won't be able to follow it and be able to recall it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So that's our anime horror movie. Number 11 is a comedy, but I really enjoyed it. Happy Death Day. There's also a sequel, Happy Death Day 2, and it's meant to be silly, but it's kind of like Groundhog Day, where this girl keeps reliving the same day of her life, and she keeps getting murdered by this mysterious figure. And again, I kind of don't remember who the killer ended up being, so maybe I need to watch it again. But it is nice. You see the character change. She's really bitchy at the beginning and really selfish, and she kind of learns and grows
like
over time. And she
Mean Girl
keeps
sorority.
getting like a mean girl type, and she makes friends and they start to figure out the mystery, and it's funny. So it's a good laughable horror movie.
Yeah, I think the guy that did that also did that movie Freaky, so you can probably check that out too.
Yeah, Happy Death Day and its sequel. Number 12 is a classic, Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock.
Not the remake they did with Vince Vaughn.
Oh no, that was so blah. No, and it was based on a book, but I can't remember the name of the author.
Oh, okay.
No,
I was gonna
Psycho
say
was
the
based.
it
No,
was
Psycho was
called
based
Psycho.
on. Yeah, it was called Psycho. It was based on a book.
Oh, that's a freaky
But
book.
like everything, it's all based on Ed Gein. Yeah, I guess maybe. I don't know.
I think this
not
one is the
really.
most legitimately based on Ed Gein one, though.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a bunch of shit made out of skin, but
Yeah, he did.
not Anthony Perkins was the actor. Norma Bates.
Oh, well, yeah.
Ed Gein did, but
Yeah, I think Norman did.
yeah.
Maybe not in the movie, but in the books. Anyway, book.
Anyway, classic movie. If you can only watch one Hitchcock movie, this is the one to watch. You get the famous shots. Anthony Perkins is great as the creepy Norman Bates. And it's just, it's so good and creepy and classic. It's wonderful. I mean, it's been parodied and everything. I'm thinking about The Simpsons, where Skinner would always look up to the creepy old house and talk to Mother. That's straight out of Psycho.
Yeah. And it was made in the perfect time when, like, every actor that you saw on screen seemed to just be, like, really freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why'd that change? Like, Twilight Zone episode never reused a single actor in the whole series, and they were all awesome.
Mm-hmm.
First episode, dude carried an entire episode all on his own.
There's something about the early 60s and horror thrillers that just have that magic to it.
Maybe it's emotional abuse. Maybe that's what's
because
missing.
the 60s were a really terrible time for anybody that wasn't straight, white, Christian man. So, you know.
Also, Alfred Hitchcock was an asshole, and he loved terrorizing the women that worked with
So,
with him.
Filmmaking. Progressive filmmaking. So, yeah, here's a fun little tidbit. Janet Leigh was the woman who was stabbed in the shower in the infamous shower scene in Psycho. Her daughter is Jamie Lee Curtis, who was in the Halloween movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like mother, like daughter. All
Fun
right.
little factoid. Okay, number 13 is one you're going to like. Don't Breathe.
Fuck yes.
We watched this one on Amazon Prime. Why don't you talk about what it's like?
Oh god. It's, man, you can't support anybody in this movie. Everyone is awful. Every time you find out the awful people are not that awful, they become more awful. And then the people who don't seem that awful at the beginning become awful.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually good, because it's a violent movie. It's sort of an action-y home invasion movie. Well, I guess it would still be more in the horror genre. So you can enjoy everyone getting fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, except for one person who maybe was just
Sort of an innocent bystander.
Sort of. Even that one. It's hard to
They
say.
still did something bad.
Even that one. Like, literally
Yeah.
everyone's awful. The old man is the shit, though. Like, blind dude doesn't take shit from anybody that's breaking into his fucking house. You're locked in there with him. And the lights are out. And that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
I still am waiting to see the sequel.
Yeah, there's a sequel, Don't Breathe 2.
Ah.
Number 14 is Mr. Brooks with Kevin Costner and Dane Cook.
Another one that no one ever seems to know about.
It's really
But
good.
It really stuck in my mind.
Kevin Costner is this very gentlemanly serial killer, and if you don't like Dane Cook, you're going to like what happens to him in this movie.
Yeah, so Kevin Costner has an alternate personality who is the killer. And they constantly go back and forth talking to each other the whole film, which is fun. And it's not like Kevin Costner talking to himself. There's another actor playing the part. But like it's interesting that you're sort of inside his head because he's arguing with his other self who he doesn't want to listen to, but he has to listen to. And then there's some stuff with his daughter and how it's affecting her and her life, and it's man, it's really good, but nobody knows about it.
No.
Just like Frailty.
Give Kevin Costner some love. He probably needs it. All right, number 15 is The Empty Man. That one got a lot of press when it came out, and it's good. It's creepy. It has some cult-like quality to it.
Yeah.
And the ending, I didn't see the ending coming when they revealed who the main guy was, and I still can't quite figure out how it works.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you almost have to go back because you don't understand.
I know, I need to watch it again, but it's creepy, and there's I remember one visual where kind of the heroes are trying to get across the water, and all of these people are across the lake, and they all take a step in unison. And it's the creepiest thing. So lots of creepy visuals. It's not like your jump scare type of slasher type of horror movie. It's not really a fast moving movie, but it's dark and twisted and sinister and creepy. And so it's very unique and creative.
Yeah, it's
I haven't seen
like
another story like that.
the guy that made Midsommar and Hereditary. Like it feels like his type of work.
It does feel like it's in that vein.
Yeah,
It does.
like it's creative, and you're not necessarily gonna figure it out.
Yeah, and you just kind of have to live with that. Like the end of Hereditary is just a big what the fuck is going on moment. So, yeah. Number 16 is something AJ mentioned earlier, the Paranormal Activity series.
Yeah.
I get so much house envy when I watch these movies, except for like the second or the third one because it was super dated 90s looking.
I mean,
But I love big houses. I want a house. I love my condo. It's paid off. I appreciate it. But I want a house. I want a big house with ghosts in it. So,
I mean, you gotta have a big house to run around in.
my
to
house
make it to
isn't
film.
even big enough to haunt.
Like, well, it's not big enough to film in, so no. They're just fun. They're not even like when they started coming out. I remember the ad campaign was ridiculous. Like, all the ads were like they were a genius though. All they were was showing the audience, fuck it. Like that's it. Just watch the people watching it get freaked out. That's the entire ad campaign for the first one.
Yeah,
And then it was still in the time when you could sort of bullshit like, oh no, bro, it's real.
it's
like,
found footage.
We found it after they died, and dumb kids that don't ask their parents like, is it like really like. Idiots. Like, you're just like, yeah, man.
Hey, I knew people who thought the Blair Witch Project was real.
Everyone that I knew, that I grew up with, thought that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based on a real event. And it wasn't.
I guess every generation has their, I think this is real
So,
thing.
but yeah, just enjoyable. They sort of build on each other, but it's more like, how can we get another jump scare? Like, how they get creative.
They do get creative with it. And I think there's one that we haven't even seen yet. I think there's a sixth one.
I think they tip off the cliff after like 4.
Was the fifth one
We've
with those
watched
2
4.
teenagers that we liked?
We've watched up to 4.
Okay,
I
I
think
liked,
that was
I
the
liked them.
teenagers.
Oh, I really liked them. I was sad that things
What happened?
didn't go well for them in the end.
But like and this is just by reading the titles and the descriptions. I think they've like they took a dive. So we'll
Yeah.
probably get around to watching the other ones eventually.
Yeah. Number 17 is The Night House, which is a movie about grief.
Yeah.
A woman is in this beautiful lake house and her husband died, and she's just dealing with that. And this is one of those where you're not quite sure what is reality.
Yeah.
Is there really a supernatural being, or is it all in her head and it's grief? And again, the reveal twist is interesting.
Yeah, like okay. This is another one where I was like 90% on board, and I just wish there was something different about like the ending or the ambiguity. I don't.
Yeah, sometimes ambiguity is nice in a movie. Like The Exorcism of Emily Rose is a perfect blend,
Yeah.
I think, it's the perfect example of ambiguity in horror.
It's so rare now. Everybody wants to give me an answer that sucks. Like, stop giving me answers that suck. Either be smart enough to make it like, which one is it? Yeah. Or just go all the way with one. I like.
Mm-hmm. And this one, I think it was leaning towards the supernatural forces at hand, but you're never quite sure. So, but it's definitely had some things I wasn't expecting. It's visually a nice movie to watch. Makes you want to. It's kind of chill because it's just mostly this one woman and her thoughts.
It was a
at lake
creative
house.
concept.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it for that.
Yeah. So number 18 is A House on the Bayou.
This is another creative one.
This was a creative one. It's about a family that goes out to a house on the bayou, and they meet some local characters who are not what they seem. The young man they meet is very interesting. And he's I won't even go. I don't want to go into detail because I don't want to
I
spoil
hated
it.
him.
But
Like, you're
I
supposed
liked
to
him.
not like him, but he was such an ass.
He was a good villain.
Yeah, so sort of like a country people are giving some city people the what for that they deserve, sort of, but then with a little twist.
With a little bit of a supernatural twist.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good
They're
one.
not just supernatural, there's also like the actual plot had sort of a twist, other than just reveal of certain things.
Yeah,
So,
and it's always scary being it's not quite a home invasion, but it kind of is because it's like a guest who comes who won't leave, and that can be scary.
yeah.
It's like in Funny Games. Ugh. So I don't want to talk about that one. That is my Tusk. Funny Games is my Tusk. I
Why'd
hate
you
that.
have to say it?
That movie is so upsetting. I hate it so much. It made me feel so bad. I never want to see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number 19, our final one, is Black Box. And
Okay,
this is
I
what
was
we watched.
hoping this was the last
We
one.
watched this on Hulu, and what I really liked about it, other than it was a great story, it was very creative, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of supernatural, a little bit of horror, but the whole cast was black people. Black director, black writers, black cast. Felicia Rashad is not who she appears to be. She's really good in it. So it's nice to see horror movies, especially with black people and people of color, because we don't see that too much.
They're more creative than ours
His house?
at this moment.
His house?
White people keep doing the same old shit. Like, let's bring back Jason again. Fuck Jason.
Fuck Jason.
I'm tired of Jason. Give me this Black Mirror type shit. It felt very... Like, was Jordan Peele a producer on this? 'Cause
It felt like a Black Mirror episode.
Very. There's a guy that has... What the fuck is it called when you forget who you are?
Amnesia.
What I just had.
That's funny that you forgot what amnesia is.
Um,
That's cute.
So, there's a guy with amnesia, and he has like a 7-year-old, 8-year-old daughter, and he's trying to remember himself while still being a very not untrustworthy, but maybe not in the best place father.
Well, he'd been in a car accident, and
Yeah,
he had
his
traumatic brain injury. His
Yeah.
wife died.
And he's trying to recover his memories, and it goes in very strange directions.
In a very Black Mirror type of direction, and I loved it.
Like, you almost feel like you figure out what it's gonna be, and then that's not it. Like, that's... Like, I had a whole... Like, oh, this is what it's gonna be, and then it wasn't that.
Yeah, it keeps surprising you at every turn.
It's... God, it's good.
It is good. And that's it. That's our list.
Yay.
Any
19.
honorable mentions?
I thought I had one or two as we were going along. I don't remember. Fuck it.
I know that there's going to be a Final Destination 6, and I'm excited for that piece of crap.
Oh god, the fifth one was so
It's
bad.
going to be so dumb!
The fifth one was so bad.
So enjoy our list. Some are meant to be guilty pleasures because they're not that great. Others are guilty pleasures in a way that they're really well-made movies. I think horror needs to get a little more credit for artfully made movies.
Horror is interesting because you have like a wide variety. You can have ones that are terrible, and that's the reason you enjoy them. And like that's how they were made on purpose. There's ones that are terrible not on purpose that you can enjoy. There's the stuff that's just really good. There's stuff that's fucking insane, but somebody pulled it off. Like there's
Like Malignant?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the perfect example of that one.
Yeah, so horror is an interesting genre. It's something I always avoided because I have a really active imagination. I still don't like watching scary stuff at nighttime, but I've really grown.
We have to this year. There has to be.
No!
We have to once. We've never watched a horror movie in the dark.
You know what I need to do is watch The Ring at night.
Oh, come
That's my favorite horror movie now. The pandemic really fucked with my head. I had a pretty big mental health problems for the last 2 years, and horror movies were kind of my salvation because you could just sink into the awfulness of it. And sometimes that helps me cope with things, is just let me watch something so awful and so scary. And I think I even wrote an article about like having anxiety is like waiting for a jump scare. So, and I finally, like at the end of 2020, I'm like, this has been the worst year ever. Let's watch The Ring, which I hadn't watched for 20 years because it scared me so badly. So that was kind of my foray into really enjoying horror movies.
I just grew up on Tales from the Crypt and Stephen King movies, so
I was just a weenie for all these years, and now
my dad
I like
got
them.
me onto it, and that's all there is to it.
It's one of my favorite genres now. So enjoy these movies. Happy Halloween.
And follow the cult.
Follow the cult. Oh, yes. Join our cult. Be my victim. How can I forget? You can watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Discord. You can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, and you can look at us on the cult of Instagram at Movie Pain or Pleasure Podcast.
It really is a cult.
It's a cult.